Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Sunday night and it is time for another live stream. Now, tonight things may sound a little bit different and I'm interested in knowing from you guys how it sounds. Sounds. So please do let me know. And the reason for that is I'm actually using a different microphone. No, it's not the microphone that I had a review of earlier. I'm actually using a boom mic, which is like and it's just something I want to try. I've still got the pod mic is here if we need it. We'll drag the podcasting mic over. But I thought I would just see how this sounds on the live stream as well, because it just makes life a little bit easier rather than me having to make sure I'm on the thing. And it's a Sennheiser MKE 600 nonetheless. So it's a very nice microphone. It sounds better when I'm not talking. Thank you, Bruce. That means I know it's not working. But it's something I've set up because I've been microphone playing for a while and I've been having problems with my Rode Wireless Go, with the batteries being flat and stuff. And there has been a bit of a frustration that I'd like just to have a setup where I can just sit down and it works, especially from a microphone point of view as well. And that's where this comes into account. I may sound different. I don't know how good or bad that different is. You will hear it in some of the content that's coming out this week because I've been using it in some content and it's been going through Resolve as well, and I've been playing with it a little bit too. And whilst it might not have that out and out podcast sound to the microphone, because you know these definitely have a very specific sound to them, it should make life a bit easier, but it's also how it is cutting out the ambient and stuff as well. Now today we've got some stuff to talk about. Tonight we are going to be doing this. Yes, we're going to talk about FrSky and a post that Steve put up, which frankly, I just don't think he should have, but we're going to talk about it and I'm going to share with you my thoughts and I'm going to be clear. This ain't going to be pretty and none of my comments are meant in any way of a personal nature. However, this ain't going to be pretty and I'm going to warn FrSky now. We're also going to talk a bit about the Avata and this new issue that seems to be coming to light. And I look like, or not at least I look like, it looks like I may have it on mine. And that is with regards to the battery pins. We're going to talk a little bit about some thermal cameras because I'm looking to get a thermal camera in for the channel and I've settled on the camera I want. I'm trying to get the manufacturer to send me one, but they're not replying to my emails. Shock horror. We'll talk a bit more about the DJI affiliate scheme. That post I put up yesterday, bit controversial, that one. Not sure how well that's going to go down in certain quarters. However, I found it interesting. I was sitting down and I just thought, oh, I'll log into my old affiliate account and see what's happening. Is it even there? And it was. And not only that, it is still collecting the clicks that are the links that are out there from my historic content. And just to put you guys in the picture, in 2022, it has generated over 4,000 clicks. Now, that is a substantial number. That tells you how, not big I was, but just how it was on the affiliate program. And don't get me wrong, you don't get a click through for every click. However, off the top of my head, my percentage rate was decent, actually. Conversion rate was something like 1 in 100 may have been less than that. I certainly will openly say I probably would have benefited from at least $400 worth of credit off that 4,000 clicks, in my opinion. and they should have been paid out if I was still part of the scheme, but I'm not, so they're not paying it out. And I just thought it was interesting. And whilst I'm burning bridges, I may as well burn them, bomb them, and put them to the bottom of the ocean. But I thought it was interesting, and it just goes to show with things like this that, you know, they can pull the rug out from under people's, pull the rug out from under you, and they still benefit, which is quite interesting. Now, it's been a bit of a quiet week for news, so as always, guys, I want to hear your questions as well. Super chats are welcome, but they are not required. I'm going to come over to the chat in a second. I'm waiting for the porn to kick in, because it usually does at some point. There is some interesting comments I'm seeing on this pin thing at the moment, and yes, I have spotted that as well. I'm not convinced it's quite what is being said, and I want to discuss that side of it too, and the fact that people are saying they're getting an ESC error doesn't make sense, because you should get a battery error if the data isn't actually communicating. But we'll talk about that as we move through too. Now, as always, guys, if there's any questions, please do put them in the chat. I'll try and answer them. Good evening, Bruce. I'll start with Bruce because he was here early doors. But good evening, everyone. Kilbree, how are you, my friend? I'm just looking at my chat list on the side here. The time has changed. We are earlier in the UK, for those of you who are in the UK, which is good news. Adam, living the dream. How are you, my friend? OCDFPV, Pedro Tom. It's good. Cool Cat. How are you, my friend? It sounds different. Thank you for that. Mike Bergman. Ooh, you're excited. FrSky or FrSky, whatever we're going to call him. Hi, Ian from Belgium. Good evening, Ben. How are you? Hope you're well. Glorious Quads. Hello, everyone. How are you? DLMI Driss, hello, how are you? Hemel Stimmer, how are you? John Goblin, hello, my friend. Do we have to pay extra for the porn thing? No, it comes along free of charge at some point in the stream. It usually does. What's up, All Mac FPV? So, hello. Now, I've got myself a cup of coffee. I've also got myself a couple of chocolate biscuits as well. And, ooh, wrong button. As I am a professional YouTuber, you're not having anything professional here. I will be eating and drinking throughout this stream. I did laugh at Bardwell earlier. I was listening to Bardwell and he was saying he doesn't like putting out. He was having problems with his... he's been having a lot of problems with his connection recently, and he was just saying he might finish early if it does, because he doesn't like putting out substandard content. And I just sat there watching thinking everything I put out is substandard. You can't worry about content being substandard or you'd never put anything out. But I suppose that's what happens between a professional YouTuber like JB and someone like me who really doesn't care. So that's it. But I did chuckle at that one. So I suppose we should start with the burning bridges section of tonight's stream. Now, I want to be 100% clear up front. Whilst I will be referring to a post made by a person who works for FrSky, this person is someone I have had a discussion with both on screen on SUAS News and off screen. I have nothing against the person. My opinions will be strictly from what I feel is right from a company point of view, and they are in no way a personal attack or a judgment of that person itself. And I just want to be clear about that, because I know how difficult it is to be a person on the public facing side of something, and it's easy to have idiots like me or others comment. However, I can't let this one slip, because fundamentally I would be ready to tell them to go fuck themselves after what I saw posted on Facebook. And not only would I tell them to go fuck themselves, I'd tell them to go fuck themselves with their own radio. But we'll come on to that in a minute. Now, a post was put on the Express ELRS forum, Facebook group, sorry, I say forum, but it was the Facebook group. Let me bring it up. Here's the desktop. And look, the post is by Steve. I'm not going to say his last name. He is a rep for FrSky. That's all I'm going to say. Representative of FrSky. Now, I'm not going to read the whole post. And it is also worth me saying that this isn't the original post either. If you want the original post, you will need to go into the edit history, which is up here, which shows it before it was actually changed. Now, this post was more than anything an advertisement from Steve on FrSky's behalf for their new radio. Okay, let's be clear. It was an ad. Let's not cut around the bullshit on this. It was an advertising post to say, hey, we've got this new radio coming we think you may like, which is the Twin X-Lite, which they show down here, which is running their Ethos OS. It's going to have a new 2.4 gig LoRa-based radio system that no one wants or has asked for, but hey, they're going to deliver it. But in their original post, they also said that it is going to support Express ELRS. Now, the wording that's been used here is that it uses LoRa, its own protocol, along with, let me just highlight this here. It might be hard for you guys to see, but I'm going to read it. The latest iteration, known as the Twin X-Lite S, instead of 900 megahertz, it uses a LoRa module at 2.4 gigahertz and its own in-house protocol along with ELRS 2.3. So, this basically said it was coming with Express LRS. Now, the devs, the amazing devs, I can see two of them in the chat. I'm going to ignore them a minute because I'm not going to put them in a difficult position. Responded in the only way they could. So Wes put a great post up, which is here. I'm going to make it bigger so we can see it, which basically says they have a long-standing chat with FrSky, but there has been nothing official on this radio, basically. And as such, it will not be compatible with Express LRS version 3 times because it has, and it will not be added to the configurator as it's not been tested by the team. Okay, so the basics are, there's been some discussions with FrSky on other products, not this radio. So Wes basically spelt it out in the best way he could, fairly straightforward. Now, this is where things get, from my opinion, where I would start telling people to shove things up their orifice. And this is where Steve replied very nicely, and he offered to help them work their way around FrSky, but here is where things took a really strange turn. There is one major condition. Schematics will not be provided for any reason under any circumstances. If that is a deal breaker, please let me know right now. I'm sorry to sound harsh, but this is absolutely black and white. I'd like to move forward the hobby. I'd like to move the hobby forward. I'm sure you would as well. Other thing is, owners and management of the company do trust me and my opinion, so it does carry weight. I have to vet the people I bring forward to communicate with. Would you be open to have some offline conversations? You may have some reservations about FrSky, and I have some concerns about ELRS that maybe we should address before moving forward. So, right in there, they're saying, we're going to have FrSky support, but you can't have schematics. We're not going to let you see inside the radio. You can't look at the radio. You can't understand what. Oh no. No, if we've put a post on your forum saying that we've got this new radio which is actually going to work with your software, which is open source. But it actually turns out we haven't spoke to you about that. And now when you've responded and said that, we've had to come out and say, yeah, but we'll only work with you if you don't need schematics. What a load of utter bullcrap. Utter nonsense. Why would you create this post, talk about how the radio is designed to work with it, then edit the post, and then come back and say publicly, oh yeah, but no, you can't have schematics. Now, it is utter utter bullshit. It really, really is. They've come on to their group and then tried to set the conditions of the agreement before even discussing it. It's nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. Now, this is just the tip of the freaking iceberg here, because I'm sorry, Steve, I am ripping you on here, but there's all sorts in here. You go on to talk about 32-bit microcontrollers with firmware that's a patch quilt of updates from their 16-bit origins. Really? So are we saying that HTX is a patchwork from 16-bit origins, and actually there was talk of it being 64-bit? Honest to God, it is utter, complete and utter madness, the post in itself. I just don't understand where you're coming from outside of the year 2015, right? Okay, so let's cut this down. And look, I'm not going to go too much into this because it goes on forever, but right. The radio looks bloody interesting. I really do genuinely think the radio looks cool. I have no issues with it running their own OS. I don't care. I use iPhones, I use Android. I have, my Rodecaster has its own OS. I don't, not everything is the same. I understand that. I get that. Making it compatible with ExpressOS is a good thing, but don't go on their group and then when they turn around and say, hey, but you haven't discussed this with us, suddenly tried to set the bloody conditions up front and basically make it look like the Express LRS devs are the problem. Because that's what you're actually doing here. What you've gone on and said is that, oh, we can make it compatible, but you've got to understand there are conditions to that and you've got to comply on their Facebook group. I am astonished. This is the biggest PR disaster I have seen from anyone in longer than I can remember. And I'm sorry, I am burning every bridge here that there will ever be with FrSky, but I don't care. Come on. This is utter bullshit. You cannot go around and dictate the terms to an open source dev team in a public environment and then not expect people to come back and rip you a new asshole. It's utter bullshit. Utter bullshit. It really, really is. So, the basics here are this. The radio looks all right. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see the radio. I'll buy one. I will buy that radio, right? I will dismantle that radio. I will take every possible high-res image there is. I will go and hire a 50 megapixel Sony A7R4, take more high-res images that have ever been seen of the insides and every bloody millimeter of the radio, and then we'll talk about you're not allowed schematics. We won't bloody need schematics by the time I've uploaded everything to repair.wiki. So if you're gonna pretend that there's something secret in there, we will figure it out. There are people who have reverse engineered the DJI Digital FPV system. A bloody radio is 20 minutes work at best. So please, don't come on and pretend like this thing is the next shuttle that is going to bloody Mars, because it isn't. It's a radio, it's running an STM32H7. Oh my God. It is going to have I/O ports. It is running the same processor that is probably in 80% of flight controllers today. Well, here's something interesting, FrSky. Here's one for you. This bloody GPS, not bloody, it's a good GPS. I apologize for bloody Philip. Here is the Here 3 Plus from CubePilot. This runs the H series CPU as well. Do you think CubePilot are saying you don't get to know about what's going on in here? Really? There's something so special about that radio, yet this GPS is running the same CPU. But it's 64-bit. Really? Really? We're going there now as well? Yeah, this is... Honestly, this post is an absolute car crash. Yeah, there you go. Failsafe just hit the nail on the head. You don't get to know. Well, we will. Mark my words. If I have to buy every radio and upload it to repair.wiki, I will. And if you don't know what repair.wiki is, I'm going to show you, right? If you don't know what repair.wiki is the place that myself, mostly, not so many other folks right now, but myself, has been uploading information on FPV products that we tear down and try to understand. Just to give you guys an idea, if you're watching this FrSky, you will get your own place on this website. I will promise you that. And we will be more than happy to allow your products to sit on here and have tear-down images of every single inch of the PCB. I'll make sure that they're at least 40 megapixels. I'll make sure that they're there for everyone to see. So if you're going to talk about schematics, and do you know what we'll even do? We'll even wait there and try to put repair on for information on there for your users, because that's how kind we are. You know, here's something interesting. One of the most secretive companies in FPV, you know, they don't like talking about anything, really, to be honest. Their lovely new drone that's just been released, we have images of every single PCB in it. Every single board that is in that drone, we have images of, including the CPU, the processors. We start to map out the circuit diagram so we understand what the system is doing. I better stop before I have a stroke. Genuinely, my response to that post, if I was the dev team, and I know they can't and won't do this because the dev team are a bigger person, each member of that dev team are a bigger person than I am, but I would be telling them to get fucked. Basically, is what I would do. You have, right now, in the Express LRS world, a number of manufacturers who are so dedicated to supporting the project. And I'm going to name the biggest one that I can think of right now, and that is Radio Master. Okay? Radio Master are smashing it out of the park at every turn. They are delivering products that are good. I'm not saying they are perfect. I'm not saying they are the best on the market, but they are products that you can trust every day. T16S Mark II, Express LRS built-in. Zorro, Express LRS built-in. T12 Mark II, Express LRS built-in. All of their new receivers, Express LRS. Some of the highest quality receivers I've seen. All from a brand that looks after and listens to its community. But not only that, I know that brand works with the dev team. I know that brand does not release a product unless the dev team has given its go-ahead that they're happy with how it works. So FrSky, if you want to get involved in Express LRS, that's what you are up against. You're not walking in and saying, oh, we might let you use your open source software on our radios. No, you have got to come up against a company that is taking on board the feedback from the community, listening to the feedback, and delivering the products people want. You have to compete. You don't get to set the agenda here. You have to come in and try to bring something new for the table. The radio looks decent. I got no complaints with the radio. I think it could be very good. But you got to cut the bullshit, and you got to come in swinging, and you've got to come in playing ball. Now, as for this comment of concerns over Express LRS, If you've got concerns over ExpressLRS, those concerns I can guarantee are the fact that you FrSky don't get to control the protocol, the receivers, or the manufacturing of it, so you can skim as much money as possible from the community. We all know the sales of radios are pretty low in numbers overall, so you want to be able to control the protocol so you can control what people are buying. Well, here's something that might frighten you. Every ExpressLRS receiver is compatible with every ExpressLRS transmitter from every brand. You don't get to dictate what hardware works and what hardware doesn't. The very best part about ExpressLRS is the fact that I can pick up this, my Radio Master radio, and use it with my Beta FPV receiver. I can go and choose my Happy Model transmitter and use this with my Radio Master receiver. And that is because the system is open, it is open source, it is open manufacturer, anyone can get involved. There is some certified hardware requirements, but as long as you follow that, it makes life for the community better, rather than pushing people into your fixed proprietary protocols that we just don't want. It is not 2015. If I wanted a proprietary protocol, I'm choosing TBS. This is really simple. If I want a proprietary protocol, I'm picking TBS. Because why would I not? Why would I want your protocol when I could have Crossfire? If I want a proprietary protocol, it's Crossfire every day of the week without even a glimmer of anything else in the headlights. It's that. But if I don't want a proprietary protocol, I choose ExpressLRS. So why would anyone want to choose what you're offering? Now, there is that feature that you have on your system. You do have that feature where it can jump between 2.4 and 900 megs. That is interesting. I do think that's quite interesting. However, in some ways, I'm not convinced there's a big enough market for it. Someone else mentioned Ghost. Yeah, I've not used Ghost. I can't comment on Ghost. It's good. I know Ghost is good. For me personally, if I was choosing a proprietary protocol, I'd be choosing Crossfire. If I had Ghost here, if I tried Ghost, I haven't tried it. I haven't felt the great need to go and order it. If one turns up, I'll talk about it and I'll use it. But I don't right now feel a need to go out and buy a module and some receivers. And it's not because I'm anything against Ghost. I just sort of found there was no room for it in my life. But if I want a proprietary protocol, I'm picking that. So that's what you're up against. Unbelievable. No, I'm sorry, Steve. You're not going to like it. It is what it is. I'm sorry, mate. I wish you all the best. That's bullshit. Utter bullshit. You can't be coming in. Don't make us feel like we should be grateful for you being there. No. You want us to buy the radios? And look, the hardware might be good. The hardware might be good. I'm not saying it's not. I still want to see it. I genuinely, hand on heart, want my hands on an X20 HD, which supports HDZero. I really want to try that. You've got the FrSky monitor that now supports HDZero as well. And I do think this X-Lite Twin looks interesting. I genuinely do. But you've got to lose this attitude of we dictate the conditions when the market has just... You haven't even understood where the market is today, let alone anything else. You're not even in the same 3-year ballpark of where the market is today. I'm not going to sit here and say ExpressLRS is perfect because it isn't. Concerns, there should be no concerns with the protocol. If you've got concerns with other manufacturers' hardware, then perhaps it's not for you. If you want to control the ecosystem, then it's not for you. But... yeah, it's utter crap show. And I'm just astonished. Utterly astonished. But that's probably that time on SUAS News. For those who haven't seen, there was an interview with me, Bruce, Gary, and Steve on SUAS News. If you're interested in seeing it, I'll probably put a link to it in this section. If you search on SUAS News, it's on there. And genuinely, it's not personal. I think it came, you know, he came across as a nice guy, but man, this ain't a group of fixed-wing pilots who should be grateful for this new shiny thing about a radio. You got to be realistic. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. But no. So, I need to slide down now. That's a 20-minute rant. That's one I'm going to cut for the live stream clips. I wish the dev team from the Express ELRS dev team all of the best. And I need to do this. For those who don't know, I'm going to go to here. There is an open collective page for the Express ELRS project. It is open source. Please, please, please donate to the project. The work these guys is doing is incredible. Please, you can go on here. You can be a backer. You can contribute. You can donate. You can click on here. You can make a custom contribution via the page. You can do it one time. You can do it monthly. You can do it yearly. You can do one time. You can say $20. You can then put it through. Let me just do this. Let me just do this. 2 seconds. Oh, it's going to send me a bloody text message. Where's my phone? PayPal is doing the bloody... Here we go. Text message on PayPal. Two seconds. There we go. And you can donate as simple as that. You just follow the process, donate. I try to do it now and again. It's not a huge amount of money, but it's something. So please, please do donate to the project. Thanks, Failsafe, for putting it in there. We would not have this radio system without the amazing work of the devs. It accepts other payments. It accepts card payments. I use PayPal because I use PayPal all of the time. So, but it's available there. So please, please do it. You can do it by card. You can do it by, they'll probably accept, crypto if you send enough of it. 10 grand in crypto, I'm sure would go down very well as well. I don't think there'd be any issues there, but please do support them. As I've said, burning bridges at every corner. So, moving on from this. The next thing to talk about is the Avata and this battery thing. Now, this is something which is building up. 2 seconds. Lamonte, hi, I'm looking for a flight controller compatible with Autopilot. Yeah, let's do some questions, actually. That'll calm me down. Questions time. I'm looking for a flight controller that's compatible with Autopilot and that I can connect a Raspberry Pi to build an autonomous drone. Do I have any advice? Right. Genuinely, if you're looking for something like that, I would be using the Cube Autopilot, which I've got here, but this might be a bit expensive. This is the Cube, so if I go to the overhead, if you haven't seen what the Cube is, that's, let me just get it out. That's the Cube Auto. Oh my God, my focus is well off. There you go. That's the Cube Autopilot. Fully Autopilot compatible. Mavlink, CAN bus and everything. However, there are lots of others, okay? The Cube is one of the highest end autopilots out there for Autopilot. There are a number of Matexis ones. With regards to connecting it to a Raspberry Pi, you're using Mavlink. So pretty much any of them are compatible. Show us the gold one. I do have a gold one of these as well. Yes, I do. What does the orange cube have in itself? The big difference with the cube is it's vibration isolated IMUs. Where is the CPU? The CPU is in the main cube. So what you've got is the cube and the carrier board. Okay, so the easiest way to explain these, you're going to make me explain the cube now. Let's go back to the overhead, and I'm going to have to refocus now as well. Because that is, woohoo. There we go. Okay, let's get the Avata out the way. That'll come back now. Wait for the camera focus to kick back. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Sorted. Okay, so what you've got here is a Cube Orange Plus. The cube, the orange bit, is the autopilot. The black bit is the carrier board. The carrier board is the I/O board. So the nice thing about the carrier board setup is this cube will fit on any compatible carrier board for the Cube ecosystem, or any other cube will fit on this carrier board, and there are multiple different models. So this is the model which is the H757, I think this one is. It has triple redundant IMUs. 2 of those IMUs are vibration isolated. So they are on their own vibration isolated section in the module, and it is temperature controlled as well for the most stability. So you've got a far more accurate output from the autopilot. No, you can't put Phetic Alpha on this one, but is it 64-bit? It has 2 compasses, 2 baro sensors on board. The carrier board has ADS-B input, CAN bus ports, UI. This is probably the higher end of autopilots. Well, it is the higher end of autopilots. However, there are Texas autopilots out there which you could use. With regards to connecting to the Raspberry Pi, you're using Mavlink anyway. You're going to need a hat for the Raspberry Pi because the Pi doesn't have a UART input as start, so you're going to need one of the hats which gives it inputs, and there are hats available for it out there. But you could, any Mavlink compatible flight controller with a spare UART will do it, basically. But the Cube is my preferred ArduPilot flight controller, genuinely. And for those who haven't seen, because I've been baited into it, I've made a lot of Cube content over the years, and whilst I haven't done so much recently, we're making a lot more. I was very kindly sent a gold special edition by Philip as a thank you for the content we had been making. This one is a fully fledged autopilot. However, it is a gold special edition one. And that takes pride of place in the back of the workshop. And if you wanted to buy it at one point, if you wanted to buy one, it's 1,000 Bitcoin. If I remember. Something like that. So, go platinum after your review. The Snoop Dogg FC, yeah, it's very nice indeed. And it's quite a cool thing they did. They put in, for those who don't know, before we move on, QPilot put 100 of the gold ones out there in the boxes of the other ones. They are genuinely, was it 1,000 or 100 Bitcoin? I can't remember what it was. Philip was charging. And they put 100 golds. I think it was 100 golds in the boxes because it's a Cube Orange, but it's just gold. So there are users out there who expected to get the orange and opened the box and got the gold as a surprise, which was a really cool thing to do. Really cool thing to do. I can't remember if it was 1,000 or 100 Bitcoin. It was still a lot of money. I know Philip made a random number up in the top of his head, which was quite funny. Hismail Stimmer, what 3D printer am I using right now? Okay, 2. Predominantly my Prusa Mark III S Plus, I think it is classed as now because I've done all of the upgrades. But I do still have still rocking the Ender 3 S1 as well. I need to do a few upgrades on it. It's not quite as good as the Prusa, but it's very, very good. But my go-to, if I need to print something now at the moment, without worrying about anything, is the Prusa in the corner. Mark 3S, Mark 2. It's a workhorse, absolute workhorse. I don't tune it. I don't bed level it anymore. Prints just come out fine. Once you've set it up, it just works. It is an absolute appliance. It really, really is. But I have to say the Ender S3 S1 is a very, very good printer. For the money especially. When you consider it's like third of the cost of the Prusa for about 90% of the performance. The cost to performance ratio is fantastic. And if you upgrade the firmware, and they've now got their new pad, it's interesting. It's interesting to see. So I need to do some upgrades on that when I get some time. Okay, so the next subject. Okay, it's time to talk about this DJI FPV thing. Now, I think it's Drone Camp. Is it Drone Camps? Who's put this video out on this? Let me just go to YouTube. DJI Avata. Oh, that's not Avata. That's not how you spell Avata. I thought it was Drone Camps, and he's put out this, and I know people have been having issues, especially after doing the Axis Flying Motor upgrade. And here we go. Is it here? He's put something out about you need to know 2 days ago. Not, is it this one? Yeah, it's this one here. So, Drone Camps is doing a lot of content on the Avata right now. Let's just turn that down a bit so it's not quite so loud. I'll mute that a second. And, oh, Mr. Camps, Drone Camps RC, there we go. And he's talking about the pins on the back of the Avata. We're going to have to get through the advert, obviously. We'll get through that now. And he's talking about
that was pushed back, and the way you're going to have to
I can't
fix
hear
that,
the comments here.
if
No, he's
you
talking
notice
about
that one of these two posts powering your ESCs gets pushed back, it means it's not
post being further back. Now, just to be clear, these two posts here are not powering the SC. So these are your power XT30 style connector. XT30 will fit. These are the telemetry connections. One is ground, and one is a bidirectional telemetry connection for the battery to the drone. It is not CAN bus. It is being mapped out as we speak at this moment in time.
connecting to.
And what he's saying is
that means that somewhere in this,
people getting
recently ran into with the DJI Avata is
errors, propulsion error on that connector. Now, I would not expect that connection to give a propulsion error in any shape or form. That connection should give battery error. What you should have an issue with if you have a problem with that connector is you would have no battery voltage showing, NA in the screen, and those issues down there.
Propulsion system error, and that means that somewhere in this setup right here.
Now, I'm not for 1 minute 100% with that these pins being staggered is a problem, because as people have already said here, right? So let's get the overhead. Here's my Avata, and I'm going to have to refocus now because I adjusted it. Right, so you can see my pins there, and my two are not the same. One's longer, one's shorter. You can see that there. Okay, so now that's gone in, you could see that there. But as someone has quite rightly said, and let me grab it, that is actually the case on the charger as well. So if we come up here, let me just do the focus so it zooms in, and you can see that the pins are staggered in length on the charger too, which would suggest that's 100% correct. And it makes sense that the ground pin is longer, as has just been said, because that way it makes connection first before you have the connection on the longer one. So I'm not convinced what is being said is right. As far as I'm concerned, those pins being staggered is correct. What is interesting, though, is people are starting to think that that is causing some of the propulsion errors, and I'm just not convinced that is the case. It is possible that the pins are still pushing in too far. That may be happening. I can understand that. But I would not expect a propulsion error. You should be getting battery error. You know, they're data pins. It's a UART connection. It's basically RS485, basically. It's a version of RS485. That's all it is. We know it's a data connection. Someone's already mapped it out. One of them is ground. One of them is data, bidirectional. We know what's going on. But that isn't really going to cause it. And what's also interesting is they are also staggered on this charger for the main battery connections too. So I don't think there's anything wrong here. I don't fully understand where this is being linked to, say, propulsion error. Propulsion error is what I have seen. Okay, so what is the cause of problems? What I am seeing is people who are fitting the Axis fly-in motors are seeing issues. Is that surprising when you are having to tear the drone down to that level? For those who watched my teardown video of the Avata, the amount of heat compound in there is incredible. To be honest, if you tear this drone down, you need to replace all of that compound. If you don't, you're going to start to have issues. I'm not shocked people are having problems with this much of an invasive mod on the aircraft. It's a big job. It's a big task. And not everyone is as fully capable of soldering as everyone else is. And I'm not shocked that there are problems. I'm not saying Drone Camps RC or Mr. Camps has caused it himself. But there are a number of potential issues here, okay? If I go to my teardown video, I'm going to do a bit of self-shilling here. There is a huge amount of heat compound in this thing. And I'll be honest, when you tear it down, it's junk. It's already gone hard. In the areas where it does get hot, the compound just gets solid very, very quickly. So I'll put this up here. Let me mute my video because we don't need to hear my voice on the video. But you'll see in the teardown, right? So we'll get through to about here. So here's an interesting point in the video. You've got all this thermal compound, which is behind my head, unfortunately. Right there. Let me just see if I can move that into a better position. No, I'm gonna have to turn myself off. Wait a minute. Boom. Right there. We'll just play that a second. Right. So we've got all this thermal compound that is there and there between the main plate on the Avata. That needs to be there. That is actually helping transfer heat from that ESC. If you look at the direction of that compound, right? There's a U shape with a lump in the middle. And that goes through here to that area there. This is a big metal plate in the bottom of the Avata that transfers the heat out. When you then get inside the ESC block here, that is replicated inside. So that U shape here, you can see of the compound going round. So you got that compound there in that U shape, lifting the cover off. Come on, YouTube. Lifting the lid. And there, it's exactly the same layout. You've got the large caps in the center. You've got the FETs going along there with regulation there. So all of this needs to be in place. All of that needs to be there. So when people are doing this modification, all of this basically needs to be replaced. It's no good just putting it back. And I'll be honest, I have on mine, but I have ordered more thermal compound. But all of this compound needs to be put in. And then if you flick this board over on the other side, if we lift it off, you can see there, you've got that compound area. And then when we spin it over, you've got more here on the motor drivers that go to the internal heatsink. So all of this is what is going to be causing some of the problems. Thank you, Sean. Hope you're well. Geparcy are selling an Avatar upgrade. It's called the Cinelog 35 HD. Yeah. Can that compound be reused? Not in... I have, but what I noticed was this. The compound in the areas where the drone does get thermally hot has dried out even as young as mine is. It needs to be replaced. It turns hard and crisp and begins to peel off. You can put it back, but it's like a weird play sand putty type compound, and it doesn't play well. It needs to basically be replaced. Liquid metal for the win. Oh God, Bruce, no. You know, if you were doing this and you were doing this properly, the best thing you can do is isopropyl alcohol the board, clean it off completely, tidily, and replace all of the thermal compound with quality replacement thermal compound. So it's hardly surprising people are having issues. I'm not for 1 minute convinced that pin issue is real. That it might be for some, but no, I'm not convinced that's a real issue. The pins are staggered on the charger, as has been said. The pins are staggered on the drone. That would give you battery error. I'm not expecting propulsion error on that. Propulsion error is going to be ESC, something around there. Some connection issue, something isn't right. I'm not replying to that, Lon. But, you know, DJI's design is fine. And this is actually really an interesting subject because this leads us on to 03. As someone did mention earlier, he has put a post up that hints that he has 03. Now, I'll show this and then I'll share with you my thoughts on that a minute. I suspect he doesn't have it from DJI because he'd be under NDA. And I think I probably know where he's or what he's got already. Let me just go to the community page. Here you go. DJI 03 is here. He's just put a post up just saying testing starts today. So if you look, this is in a frame already. Okay? This is in a frame already. I've turned off my camera. There I am. He has most likely been sent a ready-to-fly drone with 03 built in. I put a post on this a couple of days ago up. Okay. There are 2 or 3 scenarios that are going on right now, okay? 03 is happening. It has been delayed, but it is happening. There are people who have been sent 03 air units and Goggle 2 units from DJI. They will be under the usual DJI NDA and they will not be discussing this. I am under the strong belief, understanding and knowledge that a lot of KOLs have been sent the 03 air unit and a free set of goggles too. I have not. I'm probably one of the only bigger channels that talks about digital FPV, if not the only one that hasn't been sent something from DJI. But that is because burnt bridges and that's that. Okay, so the KOLs all have 03 today. That's the case. They're under NDA and they're not discussing it. Some of those KOLs also have ready-to-fly products from manufacturers with O3 built in. There are then other people that were sent products from other manufacturers who are not technically under NDA. However, they are under agreement not to talk about it until a certain date. Okay? Now, I have a chunk of information on O3 that's been given to me by people who have this in hand. I'm not under NDA. I don't have O3 today. I've just seen a message from someone, a friend of mine. Yes, is what I would say to that. And that is, I suspect, where it's come from. Lon has put a post in. I'm not saying anything. Okay. Now, here's where my stance on this is. If you are sent something under agreement, you shouldn't talk about it when you have received it. As of today, I have not received anything. Next week, that might be something different. But today, I haven't received anything. But at the end of the day, if there is an agreement, you should be sticking to it. But technically, I suspect he isn't strictly under NDA. Now, this is where this launch is about to get very, very messy. There was an original launch date, which has now been pushed back, but a bunch of product has been shipped to people who technically don't have NDAs. As a result of that, you're going to start to see stuff leak out left, right, and center. The downside to this for the people, and I use the word KOLs, I don't mean that in a nasty way, it's just a term I use, is those guys are under strict NDA and can't talk about it. So they're about to get shafted. Because I can tell you now, someone is going to leak it like hell now. Because those products were sent out based on a release date which is no longer the case. And they're not under NDA. They're not under, as far as I'm aware, they're not under NDA. Now, what I'm willing to say is this. I should have something in hand next week myself. But that's all I'm going to say. As for what I will be doing, that will be when I do it and get it and go from there. It's as simple as that. But how much you're going to see leak out, I don't know. And what you're now going to see is the fight for clicks. I do not give a toss about clicks. I don't give a toss about being first. I don't care about how many views a video has. What I care about is putting out genuine information. There on release is going to be all of the videos from the guys who've been sent stuff genuinely, and they'll all be pushing the video out at the same time, and they're all going to be left in this position where someone who's managed to get their hands on it early, who doesn't stick to the agreement, who isn't under NDA, is going to push it all out there. This will be very similar to the Mini 3 Pro release, actually, in that sense, where you had that YouTube channel putting that stuff out before it. So that's it. It's going to be a difficult one. It's going to be a bit of a mess of a launch now. It's coming. It's fact. We know it's bloody fact. I'm not under NDA. I've seen stuff. I've had a lot of stuff shared with me from some friends and stuff who are not on the DJI "We Hate You" list, like me. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But I do also feel for the guys who are under NDA, because I know what's going to happen here. They're going to get stitched up. And that's what happens when there's delays and stuff like that. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. I want to see it with my own eyes. I want to see it for myself. I want to understand it. And what I will be doing, as I always do, as a crap pilot who can't fly, I'm going to be giving you the information that hopefully you won't get anywhere else, which is the RF information, the teardowns, the complete overview into repair.wiki, the deep dive into the O3, the spectrum analysis, and all of that stuff. And I'll be telling you what I think about it. As I always do, I might not be first, but it will be what it will be. What isn't going to happen is information going out before a release date. That's for sure. So that's the situation, but I suspect it's a bind and fly. It's not really an exciting launch, this. This is probably something just to add. O3 really isn't an exciting launch. We really sort of know what it is already. The question really is, are we getting a DIY Avata level quality? That's the real bit we don't fully understand yet. There's nothing particularly special about having another ear unit. There's nothing particularly special about O3. DJI let the cat out of the bag themselves by releasing the Avata. We know what it is. We know what the image looks like. All we need to understand is, are we going to get a Avata DIY? That's really the question here. That's all there is to really understand. Will we get Avata quality in a DIY platform? That's it. You know, we know what the Goggles 2 are like. We know what the V2s are like. I don't own a set of V2s right now. Something I need to understand is, do I go out and buy another set of V2s to be able to review this on the V2s, as well as, because I will get it, even if I don't get it before launch, I'll get it afterwards. Or do I stick to the Goggles 2? You know, there is a question for the current owners, should you upgrade or not? Is it worth the cost? What I have heard is I wouldn't expect this to replace your GoPro overnight. And as I did share, you might need to modify your frame slightly. Let me just find the images. I did create some images for this system. I don't know for those who've seen. I've got 2 new products coming that are going to be available shortly after launch. The first is this. This is going to be the first product for the OcuThink 3 system. I've decided to partner with Noctua, and we're going to have the first available cooling solution for O3, which is going to be on the market. It also helps improve flight time because it has a turbo duct effect, which helps increase the forward thrust of the drone whilst at specific bank angles. And it's using a dual axle bearing fan setup. But there is also going to be another version available for people as well who want to upgrade later. And we're going to be releasing an RGB version with an AIO. Now, the AIO we've decided to go with is a 240mm. There will be 280s and 360s available in the future. And we're hoping to be able to see some upgrades on the pump block and things like that over time. We're still working on this one. That's the problem. We're not 100% there yet. There's some little things to work out on it. We're going to be using some very clever analysis on this. I'm hoping to get Steve Burke to review this once it hits the market, and Steve will be able to put it through all of the usual stuff, all of the usual tests that you would expect to get from GN, and hopefully we'll be able to get it on his chart as well and compare it to 13th gen as well as 7000 series too. So that's going to be looking forward to that one. Although I can openly say up front, on both this model and the first model, we are not using, we've chosen to not go with the new 8-pin connection that NVIDIA has chosen. We simply feel it isn't the right solution for this. And instead, we're going to stick to an older connection. We feel that new 8-pin solution is asking for problems, and there could potentially be issues with that over time. So we're going to stick with a traditional setup rather than that. So that will be the Mads Tech Bind and Fly, which will be available in the future as well. DeBauer will have a D-lid tool as well. Yeah, for 03. Definitely will have a D-lid tool for 03. In fact, I'll share with you guys a top secret. Wait there. Right, I'll show you this. We first tested the D-lid tool. Let me just focus. We first tested the D-lid tool for 03 on this. This is, why is it not in focus is what it is. This is a Xilinx FPGA, that same Xilinx FPGA, which is in the Avata HD system. That custom Xilinx FPGA that's made by a different company, and we tried it and we used the D-lid tool on this first of all to confirm that it does work. So we do believe that the DeBauer D-lid tool will also work on OcuSync 3 as well. So there, you know, amazing stuff, folks. There is no other channel on the internet where you will see a de-lidded fake Xilinx FPGA, which is actually a chip basically designed for RF applications. This is the only place you'll find this content, guys. You really don't know how lucky you are. Yes, so we de-lidded the FPGA in the Avatar system, which isn't an FPGA. I forgot the name of the company. What are they called? I've actually forgotten the name of the company who makes the chipset. The genuine name of the company who makes the chipset. It's on. I put it on repair.wiki. I've actually genuinely forgotten the name of the company. It's been a while since I've used their name. Where is it? Avatar VTX. Aristonin. There we go. Thanks, Juna. It's been ages since we've actually used that name. There was a point where me and Jonas were banging info back and forth on like an hourly basis about this company. And yeah, I'd completely forgotten Xilinx. Yeah, Aristonin. Or Ariston, or whatever, however we pronounce it. Yeah. So, I think that's enough silliness, don't you? So it's coming. But yeah, I think a final comment on it, I think artisan. Yeah, artisan. I call him Aristonin, but it's artisan. Bless Smile on High. I liked Altera FPGAs, but they got Intel. Yeah, exactly. Well, one's Intel, one's AMD now, isn't it? So, yes. Best Tech Digital Solution UK. So, yeah, you won't get this content anywhere else, folks. Okay. So, on a serious note, I think it's probably going to be a bit of a tough time for the guys who are on 03. I don't know the official launch date. I've heard it's towards the end of November. That's all I can tell you. I'm not particularly excited about it now. I'm more intrigued on if we're going to get a, an Avatar DIY. Avata DIY. This will Radix OSD work on a rooted Vista? Should do, yes. No reason why it would. You know what? I'm not sure on that. I'm not 100% sure. It should, because I thought it supported MSP display. I thought it support canvas mode now. I haven't tried it. Show me a digital VTX for 2.5 watts. Yes, Bruce. Yeah. So, that's the DJI thing. It's coming. We know about it. We've known about it for years. Now, interestingly, actually, I'll finish off this. In the week, I'm doing an update on the Avata system from Walksnail Cadex, and I'm going to say to you guys, it comes from my point of view. It comes out of beta status. I'll openly say that now. From my point of view, I think the product is ready for the prime time. It's not perfect, but I got a big video coming on that in the week. Not a lot of flying in it because it's been chucking with rain and windy, but it's more a talking head piece going over all of the issues and where it's at today. And we're going to be talking about that as well. Really, it's going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up in the next few months. You know, we've got a lot around the corner. We're going to have to just see how things go. The new firmware does make a big difference. The new firmware is much better. It's still dark, but if you put it on plus 0.3 EV, it's about right for me. Just checking on the chat. What I will be doing with O3 as well, as always, is uploading everything onto repair.wiki, as we always do. Now, a couple of other little things. Sorry, I was just reading the chat. I have cancelled my order, and thank you, TBS, for the refund of my Mambo version 2 Ethics Edition. I had an order on it for about 3.5 weeks. I ordered it after the live stream and it's just still on back order, so I've decided to cancel that order. I might go and re-look at the Mambo again when stock's available. I know TBS are struggling at the moment. It's nothing bad against them. I just felt I can put the money elsewhere a minute. It's just felt it was just a better place to do it. Now, what I am going to be doing is putting that money into something else, which is actually a thermal camera for the channel. And I'm trying to get my hands on one. I'm either going to have to buy one. I've asked to review it because I would genuinely like to review it if I can get them to answer my emails. But if they won't, I'm going to be buying one of these, which is the Enquiries P2 Pro. Now, this is looking like one of the better options as a portable infrared camera for use for repair as well as general infrared use. Now, the P2 Pro is only for Android. It's 9 grams and it has a macro lens available for it as well. And the interesting thing is it's got a reasonable resolution. 25 hertz, 256 by 192. There are some reviews of this camera out there. Let me just move myself over a little bit. There we go. But they're not great. I'll be honest. I would like to see a proper review of this camera, a genuine proper review of this camera. I really would. The resolution is decent. It's got decent battery life, and it looks okay. All of the info I've seen looks okay on this. So I am either gonna, if they don't send me one, if I can get them to answer, I am genuinely saying I will review this product in a genuine way on this channel if you send it to me. We'll discuss it for electronic repair. We will discuss it for drones as well, because there's some stuff I have some cool ideas on. However, if not, I'm just gonna buy it. But I think it looks cool. I think it looks very, very interesting indeed. Price-wise, it's very good. There is the Seek, which looks decent, but the Seek is much, much more expensive. So I definitely want to get one of these in. It will happen, whatever happens. It will happen. and we will be using it on the bench for repairing, but also I want to see what we can do with it on a drone as well, because it could be quite cool. It could be quite cool. But I did cancel the order of the Mambo. I'd like to try the Mambo with the new gimbals. It's just too long to wait. Too long to wait on it at the moment. It really, really is. Just going to catch up on the chat. It looks super cool. Analog's great for whoops. Digital is good. I did fly the Avata system this week very quickly. The Seeks are more expensive. This is comparable to the Seeks. Remember, for 03, cameras should have spec over 200 degrees. It's going to be interesting to see. Got a Skeldon E-Deal used for like €380. Nice. Instead of digital goggles, I bought a leaf blower. Always think. I have had an email this week talking about the new steady view receiver for the SkyZone 04Xs. For those who know, I've got the SkyZone 04Xs, and they have released, let's just go to SkyZone's page. And this is something interesting I want to cover, actually, because there's two things I want to talk about on this. We've got a new front board for the goggles, okay? So let me just find this on here. Let's just find it. Where is the page? And I know JB's covered this, but something I noticed with this was something a little bit crazy. So, SkyZone have released a new steady view front board for their receiver, which solves the problem for the people who have the dark and rolling image. Now, I don't know what board I've got in mind. Let me just grab them. Because mine aren't that old, but I don't think I've got this new board. We'll have a look at what I've got in mine. However, what's also interesting with this, and I want to talk about this, is they've made a version available with Express ELRS backpack functionality built in. However, what I don't understand is the insane cost difference as a result of this. So, SkyZone on their website, right, have a new updated Fusion board, I should say, version 3.3, which is $30. Okay. The SteadyView Express LRS version is $99. Why is it so much more to have the Express LRS? Now, is it just that that's the Fusion board and that's the whole receiver? Or is that another Fusion board as well? It looks like it's the whole unit, which is why the price is so much. But that is a dramatic difference in cost between the two. You'd be nuts to spend that. You may as well just buy that and do manual backpack. That's just crazy. That's just a crazy, crazy price difference. That really is. I don't understand why it's so much. Now, I've got mine here. Let's go to the overhead. Let's get mine out, because it'll probably fall out, because it usually does. Here we go. There's my board. And no, there you go. Mine, if I go over to the scope. Oh, no, that's not the scope, is it? That's not that one. Where's this? Oh, no, with it. Scope's not plugged in. That wasn't the right option. 1 second. Try now. No. Oh, yay. I'm probably a bit quieter because I moved further away. But as you can see, version 2.1. So I've got the old one. There we go. Sorry. So I've got the old one. I don't have the new board. Now, I'll be honest. I don't fly analog enough that I've noticed a problem. I always stick it in diversity. I don't think it's a big problem for me. I'm not particularly worried about it. But it is available if you are. But I think, I'll be honest, if you're going to spend $30, would you not just go and buy a bloody a thing receiver? You may as well just go and buy a Immersion RC, and you. That's my thoughts on it. I just don't see. I'm not convinced I'd spend the $30. There are 2 versions of 04Xs. Yeah, mine are the version 2s. Is there a way to put HDZero or Avata on goggles 2 through their input? No. So, goggles 2 from DJI have no input. No way to do it. You do have the module coming very, very soon. You have the new module from Walksnail. Cadex put out a post this week. We go back to here. They've put out this post that the VRX module is coming soon. There it is, look. That is the outside shape of it. Won't be long before it's here. HDMI output down there. Looks a lot like a HDZero module, I'll be honest. But it is coming. Speaking of digital, I've heard the HDZero goggles don't have the real-time clock on board. Is it true? I'm not aware of that. Ryan, are you in the chat? I would have thought if they put the real-time clock in the module, they'd have put it in the goggles. I wouldn't have said it wouldn't, but I can't confirm for sure. I think that would be a strange move if it didn't have the real-time clock. Evening, James. How are you? I think it would be a strange move if it didn't have the real-time clock. That would be odd. And again, with all this digital talk around the corner, don't underestimate these guys. These guys are coming. HDZero goggles are around the corner. HDZero goggles are coming soon. Trip to FetTech. Very nice. In fact, I mentioned FetTech in an upcoming video on Monday, James. I was talking about spike absorbers. And I just mentioned theirs because they're my favourite one. Funny enough. I still need to have a look at these new flight controllers. Someone might be quicker sending me one than me buying one because it might take me a while. Nice. Very nice. There's a lot of good stuff around at the moment. It is an interesting time in FPV. We're going to have all of the new HD stuff. We've got some new flight controllers. Obviously, pricing of stuff remains an issue. Things aren't great from a price point of view right now. But we're just going to have to wait and see. Something I'm going to finish on before we finish up is quite interesting, actually. I was talking about O3 earlier. There is talk of the board in the Avata being the same board as in the O3A unit. Now, I don't quite think that's possible because the sizing isn't the same. But for those who didn't see where I mentioned it earlier, I have uploaded a load of stuff to repair.wiki this week. After my teardown of the Avata, all of the images of the boards are up there now. So there's a dedicated page for the Avata drone. And then we have all of the internal images of the main boards available for everyone as well. Even the delidded ones with the GPS. But what is interesting is the RF board, which is this board here. This board has a bind button on it that isn't used in Actually, no, it's not that one that's got the bind button. Which one's got the bind button? No, it's not that one. It's the CPU board has a bind button on it, look. That isn't used in the Avata, which is quite interesting. And that's the other side. Could the WTF devs make a hack to enable HDZero on DJI goggles too? No. There is input on the goggles, but it's not HDMI strictly. It's unlikely you will see a proper input on these products at all. They're just not designed for it. Have to wait a little bit more. I would... Okay, so where things are at today are the current DJI system has just had a new lease of life because you have the FPV.WTF. There's analog input, obviously. You then have Avata HD, which I now feel is out of beta. The new firmware makes it much, much better. In many ways, the image quality is better than DJI, but in other ways, DJI is better. It's more contrasty. The RF behavior is different, both variable latency, but they don't quite behave the same. But I am now more than comfortable with the Avata HD system being a public product. As I discussed in the video this week, they fixed the bricking issues. They fixed the reliability is better now. There's a whole host of issues fixed in software. About the only major complaint, actually, that I have with the Avata HD system, and this isn't one that's widely known, is the fact that all of the settings are global. And what I mean by that is the camera settings and the VTX settings are not saved on the VTX. They're saved on the goggles. So if you have multiple aircraft and you happen to have one aircraft, for instance, where you have the camera upside down, it doesn't remember the settings. The settings are in the goggles. The settings are not in the VTX, which means you've got to keep changing the setting when you jump in between aircraft, or you need to set them up the same, which is just a bit of a frustration. Ideally, you would want the settings, and that includes things like 4x3 and things like that, to stay with the VTX, not the goggles. They've also fixed the low power or high power behavior of the goggles as well. Whilst the goggles do transmit all of the time, they have a standby mode now on the goggles as well, which means when the goggles are not armed, they're outputting like 25 milliwatts. And when you're not armed, when you arm the aircraft, it goes up to full power. And then when you unarm, it goes back down to lower power levels again. So they have improved that, although I think it's still outputting about 25 milliwatts. It would be nice to see more of a pit mode option in it as well. But Avata HD is definitely viable now. And then you have HDZero. And then we're going to have O3. And DJI are clearly going to be the big one here for a minute. Because remember, you're going to have a DJI system that has two separate systems. Vision 2 goggles and Goggles 2 will both support the old and the new system. So you'll be able to buy Goggles 2 and use it with a Vista, or you'll be able to buy your V2s and use it with the O3. So you're going to cover a huge segment of the market that's available, and it's a very clever move from DJI. A very, very clever move. They'll be able to get people involved in digital FPV at a lower cost, especially if they keep the Vista around. If they keep the Vista around and the Vision 2 goggles at a lower cost, they're going to have the low to mid and high-end digital FPV markets. The interesting bit really to understand is what the difference between the current system and O3 is. Are we going to see that jump in image quality that we saw with the Avata? Are we going to see the benefit of that onboard 4K recording with image stabilization that we know it's going to have? Is that going to be worth the additional cost? Some of the stuff I've heard so far really questions that, but it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. But yeah, and then we're going to have Avata and HDZero. And look, this is something, there is only 2 digital FPV companies who are really, really listening to the community, and that is HDZero and it is Walksnail Cadex. Regardless of what people think about Walksnail Cadex, they are really wanting to make the system work. So you can't fault them for that. I literally slagged that system off in a heap, as you all know, when it came out. Yet they messaged me. They said, we've seen your feedback. Can you give us more details? There was no blacklist. There was no black balls. There was no, you've said something nasty about us. We don't want to ever talk to you again, like the big 3-letter company. They literally, I put the info out on that firmware, which was completely opposite to to Bardwell and a couple of others. And look, I just said, don't buy this right now unless you know it's a thing. You've got to give them credit for then coming and going, we'd like to talk to you. We want to hear your feedback. You cannot underestimate that. So I'm not saying the whole thing's been handled perfectly. I'm not saying they are the perfect company and they don't have their issues. But what I will say is them alongside Carl and HDZero are really listening to the community. And that's a good thing. Just remember with DJI, we're going to get what they give us. Will they take some feedback? Yes. It looks like the backwards compatibility is happening now on the goggles too, as a result of all of the noise the community you made. That petition worked. I promise you. The video I made and that petition had an effect. I'm not saying it is, no one else could have done it, but there are ways to get DJI to listen. And that worked. But it doesn't always work. In the past, it's taken things like saying, don't buy this product. So it is interesting. DJI will deliver a product. The problem will be, how good is it going to be? Is it going to be what we want? And are they going to take the feedback when it isn't? And that's the problem. DJI is very much the Apple of the drone industry. Here's what you're getting. We've decided this is what we think you want. Whereas HDZero and Cadex, Walksnail, are going, we've done this, but we'd like to know what else you would like. And that's the real big difference between the way the companies work. DJI is very much, this is what we think you want and this is what we're going to give you. And we're not really interested in taking feedback on that. And that's how it is. We have ways of making you listen. Yes, DJI, we definitely have ways. Without security cameras, would we have analog? It's a really interesting question. I love DJI only because they hate me. I don't think they hate me, but they don't like me because I'm willing to talk about things they don't want talked about. And this will lead me nicely on to my last subject, and that is the DJI affiliate scheme. Now, I used to be quite a big part of the DJI affiliate scheme. That was when the channel was tiny. That was when the channel did not use advertising. Up until 8,000 subscribers on the channel, or 9,000 subscribers, and that was like 3 years, I did no YouTube advertising on this channel. It didn't exist. All of the channel's income, and all of the income for all of my stuff, and I was predominantly on RC groups and places like that, came from the DJI affiliate scheme. Through being able to say, look, here's this product. I was always open and honest, but if you think it's interesting, here's a link. If you want to buy it, here's the link. And that was how I had my income before YouTube ad revenue. Now, there are people who like affiliate schemes and there are people who are not. I can openly say I did okay out of that affiliate scheme. Don't get me wrong. It was not enough to get free Inspires every 5 minutes, but it was enough to allow me, for instance, that when a Mavic released, I could sell it and the income from the affiliate scheme would make up the difference to the Mavic 2 if that makes sense. So it would bridge the gap to the next product, is how it would basically work. It wouldn't cover the cost of the product, but it would bridge the gap from one to the other. Now, I can't remember when they cancelled it. I did put a post up, but DJI cancelled their affiliate scheme. They ended it and everyone stopped, and that was a big thing for us. It was everyone, but we moved on. They then sent me an email asking me to reapply twice, I may add, and yet then basically proceeded to completely ignore me when I reapplied, completely ignored the 3 or 4 emails that I sent back, and completely ignored the message that I sent to the head of DJI PR, Adam, who is someone who I thought actually owed me more than one bloody favour, Lindsberg. Over the years, I have helped that side of things out more than once, I will say, and also got ignored by them too. So, DJI didn't allow me back into the affiliate scheme. Fair enough, that's their choice. But I thought I'd log in and just have a look at how many clicks I'd had, if it was even active, and it was. And what was interesting, and let me go back on YouTube, and I'm going to go to my page, and that was that in the last year, it's been over 4,000 clicks. Desktop, community. I put this on my community page because I don't care. DJI can get stuffed. So from the date, the 1st of the 1st, 2022 to the 29th of the 10th, I had over 4,000 referral clicks on the links that are still out there. Bearing in mind, I haven't added a link to this in over 12 months, probably closer to 2 years. Probably closer to 3 years. Yet, that is still a number. I reckon I probably could have trebled that if I was still using it today. So they're still getting my links go to them. I'm benefiting from that, from older content, but I am not anymore. Which is quite interesting. And I just thought that was interesting. That's all. It is still out there. My check's probably in the mail. Yeah, I suspect my login will get cancelled for it now. That's what I suspect. And this is why DJI hate me, because I tell the truth. Now, what was disappointing in that whole situation, and I'm going to go here now, and I haven't done this yet, and I waited and I thought, do I do it? What I'm really actually disappointed in is the fact that, I'll be honest, Adam Lisberg didn't even have the etiquette to reply to my email. I messaged him on Twitter and he just said, yeah, send me an email. And he didn't even bother replying. Over all of the years I have helped them. And I thought that was shit. But hey ho. That's what happens. I will remember. That's why these things happen. When you shit on someone, this stuff comes out. I would personally take down all of the links. It's a mammoth task. You are talking blog posts and videos. It could be 600. It's too much work. It's too much work. It really is. But they won't hide from this stuff. And bearing in mind, I was also an admin on their official Facebook groups and ran all of their official Facebook groups with DJI staff for over 2 years. Non-staff admin who helped run the Facebook groups. I was the person that created the DJI official FPV group. It used to be the DJI displays group for the Crystal Sky monitor that didn't really take off. So we rebuilt the group into the DJI Digital FPV Systems Group. But it is interesting how they are happy to toss people to the side. Be careful to what you confess to here. But I never worked for them. I was non-staff. Unpaid. The benefit I did receive was I did get to know about crap up front. That was about the only real benefit I did have. All of DJI's tech just got bricked. Got reinstated last week. But yes, that's how it works. But yeah, I just found it interesting. I reckon, genuinely on that income there, I reckon that could have been definitely could have been $400-500. That definitely could have been it depends the product, you see, because their percentage rates were 5%. So the commission rate I had was 5% on sales. So for every 100, you got 5, basically. But I used it properly. Yeah, I didn't get paid by DJI. I did receive the odd bit of DJI credit here and there as a gift, but it wasn't a lot over the period, if you take what I did for them over the years. I think I actually ran the Ronin group as well. I ran the Ronin groups with Paul Pan. I class Paul as a friend. He still works at DJI. Again, he doesn't really talk to me these days. I think I'm classed as don't go there. It's quite funny. But yeah, I used to run the Ronin groups. I was heavily involved with the Ronin stuff as well. That's why I have a lot of Ronin content on the channel. I was one of the bigger channels for Ronin content. The Ronin S, the Ronin SC. But was ridden hard and put away wet. But no, I find it amusing. It's just the annoyance is I like to spill a little bit more here and there just to burn the bridges a little bit more as time goes on. And what I find funny is it's just I get silence back. It's just quite funny. Genuinely, I was genuinely disappointed that some people wouldn't even have the time to reply to my email. That's shit. That is on that. Ronin. Ronin was a great character on Atlantis. They can't afford you and JB. JB's getting my cut by now. I suspect so. Anyway, I just thought I'd share it. I found it amusing. 4,000 clicks without even putting in I'd be interested to know how many clicks the others have had. I'd be interested to know on that. But, yeah. Is the DJI Cam and 360 cams better than the GoPro? To be honest, there is no action camera out there better than a GoPro. There's a lot of... obviously, there's a lot of noise right now with issues with the Action 3 and the out-of-focus lenses. I do wonder, I don't know if you guys have seen this, there's a lot of talk about the Action 3 having out-of-focus lens. I'm even wondering if they're using a plastic lens on the Action 3. I'd be shocked if they were, but I do wonder if they're using plastic. They're having some issues with that right now. That isn't particularly unusual for DJI. They have, over the years, always had some camera issues on releases. You had it with the Mavic 2 Pro. You had it with pretty much every one of their products. Now and again, you get issues where people start looking very, very closely and you see distortion. You see one side is soft, one side is sharp. There's been stuff for years over with the cameras. But you get the Action 3 has seen some issues there. Still not as good as a GoPro. There's no action camera as good as a GoPro today. The GoPro still have the market. It was exactly the same. Yeah, there's some weird stuff being shown, and I'm not convinced it's utterly wrong. I think it's just a different tune setup. 11. some having issues with Mini 3 having focus push issues. Yeah, there's always... Look, cameras are delicate bits of kit. Getting them wrong happens, especially when they mass produce something like DJI does. You've got to take into account, DJI literally bangs these out at an incredible rate off a production line. It's just boom, 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 boom. It's hardly surprising they get some issues. It's hardly surprising they get some issues. So, okay, guys. We'll go 5 more minutes. So if you've got any questions, please do put it in the chat before I wrap up this ranty one. I've had a few messages in the background, so I'm probably in deep trouble somewhere. There's always a few people skulking around in the background listening. Junus is one of them. Junus is always skulking around in the background listening somewhere. But if there is any questions, please do put it in the chat. As always, I want to say a thank you to everyone who has donated a super chat tonight. Let me find the list. Why is it not showing up? I know Sean did. Viewer activity is 0. I'm sure... No new super chats or members yet. Oh, it's because I've seen it, is it? Thank you, Sean, for that super chat anyway. You are, as always, a gentleman. Has the issue of the DJI Avata death running gone away? No. I think it's still there. I've seen no evidence specifically it's related to my craft. I still think it's related to a software bug, and we'll probably see a fix on that in the next firmware. Mad, can I replace the internal receiver inside my 030 with something better? Bruce, the 030s, I can't... Let's see a FETIC Alpha review. That is something I definitely want to do. Definitely Almac FPV. Definitely. The 030s. Does the 030 have a bay? No, I think the 030 is fixed module, isn't it? What I don't know is, can you modify a bay onto the 030? Gone very quiet on YouTube. Things are quiet right now. Everything is steaming down a little bit. Everything is just getting quieter. You're seeing it across the board. FlySky have a new version of the NV14 on their website. Profit11236 says. Let's just have a quick look, shall we? It's an interesting radio. And here's something I've just thought of. And I've just remembered, and I forgot this in my bloody rant. FrSky. You've made a radio without a bloody neck strap hoop as well. No lanyard hoop. No lanyard hoop. Really? On the FlySky, interesting radio. Not sure about that. Not sure about it at all. The thing around the power button. Have I missed it? Oh. 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 I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Is that an extract hoop? It could be. Damn it. Sorry, FrSky. NV14, interesting looking radio. Not sure about that. You say, is this the new version here? Question. GMI, lost interest on camera drones? Yes and no. I haven't seen anything... So GMI, you lost interest in camera drones here, and you clearly focus on FPV. I've not seen anything exciting from a camera drone for 3 years. The Mavic 3 did excite me until I tried it and went, it's pretty much the same as the Mavic 2 Pro. There is literally close to no massive benefit to the Mavic 3 over the Mavic 2, other than if you have to have ProRes, and you do gain in low light, but it's minimal. It's absolutely minimal. So, yes, I still like camera drones. I would like to review more. But here's a real interesting point. I can review probably the most expensive item in FPV and discuss it and make content about it for less than $1,000. Ignore the DJI Avata a minute. That's sort of back into camera drone territory. $600-700 max. Camera drones, we're talking $2,000 to $3,000. You just can't keep up with the content on that stuff. You just can't do it. If you're not getting it sent for free, you're spending $1,400 to $2,000 on a product that you will never get the money back from. And that is why I've stopped doing camera drone stuff. I would love to review the new Mavic 3 Classic and see what it's like. It's just not viable as a channel to do so. It's just not. And that's why I sort of slowed it down. And we'll take a look at that in a minute. Actually, I'll tell you in a minute the total income I've had on all my Avata videos. And that'll be an interesting one. Just catching back up on the chat. Mavic 3 Enterprise looks good though. It looks lovely. It does look. I'd love to make more content. Hey mate, David Martin Gaff, I think it is, a Graph. Sorry. I have a question on the DJI goggles that came included with the DJI FPV drone. At this time, I modded my goggles to replicate my Fat Shark Dominate V3. Can I do this with the Avata goggles? What do you mean you modded them? To replicate my Dominator version 3. What did you do? How am I... we'll come back to that. Ricardo, my Maztec, how are YouTube stats in terms of views, subs, and interest over regards FPV? Huge. FPV has been quite an uplift for the channel. And the funny thing is, I've always made FPV content. The irony is, my very first videos were FPV related on this channel. The first video I made was FPV related. I just pivoted into camera drones and pivoted back. I always flew FPV. I just did more camera drone stuff. And here's the truth. Part of that was because the DJI affiliate scheme. Because that's what helped fund the channel, which helped fund the products. And DJI wasn't in that segment. Therefore, I wasn't really able to keep buying stuff. And you had a fantastic channel called RC Model Reviews and Joshua Bardwell and things like that. Agras T40, I'd love to do an Agras review. The channel has... I've always covered FPV, just... I've been more digital content. I modded the DJ goggles with Fat Shark headband, barrel connector, Fat Shark micro. Okay, so headband should be okay, although you might need more. Let me just have a drink of cold tea. 1 second. Oh, that's horrible. But my throat is going. You should be okay. You should be okay with those mods. The problem with camera drones is making the money back. So let me just look at something. I'll do this very quickly. I'll be interested to know how much money my Avata content has made, to give you an idea. So we're talking a $1,200 purchase, okay? And there is a reason you're seeing channels bang out content, because they're trying to recover money. Okay. Search across your channel, Avata. Let me just show all. Let me just have a look. Okay. The teardown video is probably not a good one to talk about because it's only just gone live. But let me just scroll down here and have a look. Let me go playlists and let's just see. $8 worth every penny. So, here we go. I found my playlist. So the Goggles 2 video. The Goggles 2 vid that has had 18,000 views. Where's the analytics? Has received, wait for it, total income of £50 on that video since its release. The next video, the next best one, then I'll only do 2 to give you an idea. Probably the Your Crash Risk video is probably one of the higher view ones. Yeah, 15,000 views. Let me just look at that one. I've probably done all right on that. It's negative can be lucrative. I'm not going to hide that fact. £34. I reckon I've probably netted on the £1,200, £1,300, £1,400 product by the time I take into account DJI refresh and the additional batteries. Probably I might have scraped £200 from all of the content. So, on a channel of my size, you're never going to recover the money. And that is why I stopped making content as much on ready-to-fly drones, because it's just not viable unless you're the biggies. Significantly less FPV content creators than 2 years ago. Any ideas why? I think FPV became the buzz. I think people, FPV will get into it. And I think people need to understand you cannot make a living out of this unless you're the 1%er. And the 1%er in FPV is Bardwell. There's probably one of them. You know, there's a stat, I think, the top 1% of people in the USA earn over $450,000 a year. So you're classed as rich if you're in the top 1%. And that is someone who earns over $450,000 a year. If you take FPV, the top 1% earners in FPV, there's probably, in FPV YouTube, ignore Steely, ignore those guys, because they're making their money elsewhere. If we talk about people who actually make money on YouTube specifically, the top 1% is probably Bardwell. That's it. You know, you've got some people who are massively supported by their communities. I am, for one. Bruce, obviously Botgrinder, but that's not from YouTube. That's not from YouTube. And yeah, Sean has just made a very good point. The DJI affiliate scheme ending cleared a lot of people out. I made 6 figures a year before in 2020, not now. You know, Coyote, but he makes his money though as a pilot as well. He's a pilot. He's a professional pilot too, isn't he? Siati is. Siati is a pro pilot as well. You know, I was talking to a creator about 4 months ago, a bit longer actually, and we were talking off air, and I just gave him some of the numbers I made in a month, and I don't make a lot, and he was astonished how much more it was than him, and it isn't a lot. He wasn't at first, no, but it's hard. You know, if you think about that, there's one person in YouTube FPV who makes all the money, and that's Bardwell. That's just without doubt, without question, he is the gorilla in the room of FPV content creators. He is extremely good at what he does. He's extremely polished, and he is a machine. If you just look at JB's videos, they are constant, they are high production value, and they are constantly bringing something to the table for people. JB is a machine. No one can compete with that. Can someone do better than JB? Yes. But you would have to stop everything you're doing and then try to find something that works. But JB has a very specific way he makes content. It's, you know, if you look at how JB does it, he is very, very good at it. And he has nailed the analytics, nailed the machine. And now he has his live stream clips channel, which is even bringing in even more money. I suspect he's almost added a third of his income from his YouTube channel, live clips channel now, because he's getting like 4 or 5k views on each of those live stream ones. It's a very, very, very clever move. A very, very clever move. So what JB's doing is he's getting the hit off the initial videos, the main videos. He's doing a live streams which are getting, say, 400 to 600 views. And then he's taking 3 or 4 clips. I mean, live views on the live stream. Then you're getting the thousands of views off the back of it. And then he's taking a clip, 3 or 4 clips from each one, and then putting them out and getting another 3,000 or 4,000 views. And he's just rolling that ad revenue again and again and again. Add on top of that, JB has his affiliate links, you know, the recommended affiliate links off his stuff. That probably makes him even more money than YouTube advertising does. JB is extremely good at what he does and has nailed how to withdraw every penny from what he does. But he is, look, I hope this comment doesn't upset him, but JB is a YouTuber now. It's JB isn't making content for himself. He isn't making content because he enjoys doing it. JB is a full-time YouTuber. It is a job. It is a business. And that's why he even said his comments earlier that, you know, if he's not putting out good content, then he won't do it because he wants to make money off that content. Does that mean he wants his content... He doesn't want his content not to be helpful? No. But the primary goal of JB's content now is to make money because he is self-funding himself. He is a full-time YouTuber. It is a business. He makes content. You watch that content. By you watching that content derives him money. And then he gets money then off the back of his Patreon. Yes, he has a big Patreon, and I'm one of JB's Patreons as well. And his affiliate links and all of this lot. He is a business. His job is to extract everything from it as much as he can. And he is. And he genuinely, it is impressive to see. I've been watching his whole live stream clips thing build up. And I just sat there and went, wow, that's clever. Very, very clever. When you look at the numbers. Genuinely. He's a businessman. And he is running a very successful business. End of. Bruce, I'll just have to go back to my beauty blog and cosmetics. JB is a good guy. Yeah, none of this is... I think JB is a good guy. Please, nothing I'm saying is bad. I'm being black and white about what he is. I think JB is a very, very good thing for FPV. FPV would not be what it is without him either. None of my comments should ever be taken of I don't like JB, I'm being negative. What JB is probably the most successful FPV related business there is by not making actual products. Yes, JB does. Yes, he does. It's a bit of a cipher. Yeah. Yeah, he's very clever. His live stream clips thing recently, I took a lot of note on. I was watching it, and I clip a couple of live stream clips and put them out. But JB has been very clever in the way he's done it on a second channel and things like that. Very, very clever indeed. Very clever. Bit of a siphon. You got to wring everything out of it you can get, and that's what he's doing. Fair play to him, because he's got to pay his bills. He puts the food on the table and puts the clothes on his family's back. So, yeah. JB himself modified my Fat Shark so I wouldn't have put a plug-in fan in. Very nice. Very nice. Right, guys. I think that's a good one to end it on. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me tonight. As always, we will be back same time, same place next Sunday night. Branded controllers and stuff. He gets kicked back left, right, and centre, Louis. Yeah, he does. You know, he's a machine. An absolute machine. I want to thank you all. Thank you everyone for the super chats and Voltronics. Here's a fiddly couple of dollars for a beer or coffee. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it. What's my opinion compared to Walksnail, compared to DJI right now? Watch the channel tomorrow night. You will get your answer then. That's it from me. Stay safe, and I will speak to you guys soon. Let me find the button. Here we go. Later.